So I met George after, thinking if I ever get him, I'm going.
Come on, Willie. Come on, Willie.
Was there one ride that you look back on and you think, you know what, I was as good as anyone that day?
No.
So, Pat, normally in any other week, I'd start this show with Jack Hyde's fourth at Aintree. But there was a bloke who trained the 1, 2, 3 in the Grand National and the 5. So do you mind if we just leave Jack Hyde for the time being?
Yeah, I think we'll give Jack a bonus this
Okay, let's kick on because that was a good run.
very
Extra half mile. He kept on that horse.
Oh, yeah.
Novice chaser.
Persian War first, Matt.
Yeah, even you would struggle to deck Jack Hyde the way he jumps. I tell you, he's magnificent. Right, let's get on with it. What are we up to? Right, we're up to 22, okay? 22, okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unbridled. We have got to episode 22, and we continue, amazingly, to be sponsored by our sponsors, BoyleSports. I've come today in my Willie Mullins hoodie. More of that later. We've got a lovely T-shirt up here. Can you see this? Yes, you can. That's Paddy on Imperial Command again to the crowd. More about these later, because if you want one of these, you might be able to get one. Got a special guest on the show today, Paddy. Guess who we've lined up?
Well, give me a clue.
He's got a naughty first name.
Another clue?
He trained the winner of the Grand National Saturday. When I say that, of course, it does depend on him answering. Historically, people have answered, but you never quite know, do you? No,
Yeah.
You never quite know. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, but hopefully Willie Mullins is coming on Unbridled. Whoa. But we're not forgetting about Jack Hyde. So in the hope that Willie's coming on, we don't need to go into all the Mullins stuff at this stage of the show. We do need to talk about the Grand National. Let's get to the nitty-gritty of this race. I had an accountancy meeting yesterday with my accountant, funnily enough, who loves horse racing. He's got a couple of shares. Dutch Decoy, he's part of the owners group who's in Dutch Decoy of Johnson's. And he was asking me about the National, obviously, before we got into the accounts. Then I said, well, what was it like for you? And he said, didn't watch it. And he said it was the first year ever that his office company, and it's a big accountancy company, hadn't done a sweepstake. He said no one had any interest after last year when nothing happened, which I thought was interesting. I'm just putting that out there as interesting. But the race as a whole, what do you make of the modern day Grand National?
Well, it is still the Grand National, Matt. And you know, that's your accountants obviously didn't do a sweepstake or whatever, but I'm not sure that's the case for many, many others. We as a family did one. And the build-up, obviously there was an hour, I think, before the Grand National, which, you know, it's a great idea. There was a massive build-up to the race. Matt, you still get that feeling when they're going to the start, when the jockeys are coming out into the parade ring. It is still the Grand National. And, you know, everyone's had to move with the times, but when they're at the start, you're not thinking, oh, it used to be like this or it used to be like that. I loved it. I thought it was a brilliant race.
The People's Race. And I mentioned that because obviously I was a member of ITV at the weekend, and it's very easy, particularly for the old or certain members of the old Channel 14 to say, oh, we had double the viewing figure. I'm not just saying this because I'm a member of the team. I hope that people would know me better than that. ITV got about 5.1 million viewers, which is low. Everyone knows that's low compared to previous Grand Nationals. But it was 40% of everyone watching TV on Saturday afternoon, which was a day down south that was about 18, 19, 20 degrees. It was the first day of the school holidays for a lot of school children. And 40% of everyone watching TV on the afternoon would equate to 13 million viewers 10 years ago, which would be more than 10 years ago. So while I completely understand it's easy just to say, oh, only 5.1 million watched it, I think to be fair to everyone across the board, you'd want more viewers, but equally, people watch in a different way now than they did 10 years ago. And that is just, you have to accept that. And if you're slagging the viewing figures, you're not understanding the past. And if you're gloating about them, also you've got to say, yeah, but we still want to do better. Do you think I'm being fair there?
Yeah, I think you're being extremely fair. And, again, times have changed with TV. Not everyone sits down and watches telly. That there's different ways to watch it. So, yeah, of course things have changed, and I 100% agree with that.
So, we finished the race. I put up a tweet on Saturday night. I rang the master trainer, Philip Hobbs, about Celeb Delan. I spoke to Tristan Davis and I put up a tweet saying both are okay, particularly with Tristan Davis, funnily enough, at that time. They had been very anxious not to give any news out because they kind of thought that Broadway Boy probably had passed. Like they thought he'd broken his neck. But he hadn't. But they were kind of almost in a numb state of, there must be something wrong with him. Like, we don't want to say he's fine here because it was such a bad fall. As I speak just now, I've checked with Tristan Davis this morning and he's up and down, he's sore, but at the moment he seems okay. Celeb Delan, everyone thought would be absolutely fine. He had a bit of heat stroke. They thought he'd come out of that. Subsequently, he has passed. Michael Nolan got a 10-day ban. It goes without saying, in general terms, for any normal person watching that state of events, jockey gets banned for not pulling up. Horse appears okay, but then passes 2 days later, having only had heat stroke. This is not a horse who broke a leg or anything. It's going to be very hard for the general public to come to grips with that.
Yeah, definitely. And in such a great horse race, there's always, after the race straight, the most important thing is all the horses okay, are the jockeys okay. But yeah, to get one home to the Twistons, it was obviously brilliant and massive news, but unfortunately, like you, I thought the Philip Hobbs horse was more likely to come home than Broadway Boy, but yeah, as it transpired, he didn't make it, and it was really sad.
Michael Nolan's come off social media. He's had, obviously, abuse, which he will understand, I'm sure. And I think you and I understand it, for all that I don't think it's acceptable. Should Michael Nolan have pulled up?
Yeah, he should definitely have pulled up, Matt. I had to watch it back because obviously there's so much happening in the race. It didn't come to my attention at the time. But when I watched it back, yeah, look, of course he should have pulled up. Nobody will realise that more than he will. And the way I describe it, Matt, it's adrenaline, it's the Grand National, but Michael Nolan didn't mean for the horse to one, get overheated, but two, to lose his life.
It's very hard on social media. So when I put that post up about those two horses, at Montague75 responded with, utter crap though, isn't it? How much are you getting paid to post this? Someone else tweeted, why are you posting that these horses are still alive when you know they're dead? There was a TikTok saying that Tom Bellamy had died. Celeb Delan, obviously Miho will have wished he pulled up. As a jockey, is there any excuse on this, or is it just look, it is unlucky. There is an element of luck in this. Like, obviously, Miho would never have expected Celeb Delan to have ended up passing away. But is there any excuse, really?
Well, Matt, when you get to the Aintree, your jockey's got to meet at a certain time in the steward's room. You all sit in there. Well, there used to be 40. Now there's 34. You get briefed. And their main point is, if you think you're not going that well or you're tired, pull up. Now, I was one of the first jockeys. My horse didn't even need to get tired. I wheeled it out. I wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to be in the first few. But look, me all obviously thought to complete the National, possibly could have been his first time riding in it, adrenaline. But yeah, you are brief, Matt. And, it's not nice for me all, especially this abuse on social media. Bunch of wimps. You don't need to be worrying about them. Just get on with yourself and get your head down. But it's a lesson to other people. This can never happen again.
The age of this horse is of concern, I think. I thought this actually after the heat stroke. Obviously, I expected him to live, and I was going to write about it this weekend. I cannot see how there'll ever be a teenage horse running in the Grand National again. And again, it's not because I don't believe they can, because I've written articles in the past about age in racehorses, and I've spoken to numerous experts and vets, and actually there's nothing medical that should suggest a horse should be any worse at the age of 12 than he is at 10 or 9 even. It's like, but obviously people get older. The changes happened at the Grand National, the fences in 2013-14. A couple of 11-year-olds did win to start with, but since 2015, the winning horses have been 8, 9, 8, 8, 9, 8, 7, 9, 8, and Nick Rockett was 8. I will be stunned if a teenage horse is ever allowed to run in the Grand National again. And as I say, it's not because I don't believe they could run well in it. I do. But it's because you have to cut out what the general public can pick up on. And we have veterans chases for these kind of horses. How do you justify having races for veteran horses and then the Grand National, which is not a veterans race, with veterans in it? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, I actually do agree with you. But Matt, the Grand National is a different race now. You know, the win before, when you had the bigger fences, things would slope a lot more. Fences were bigger, horses would back off more. I don't know what you think, but watching it Saturday was end to end. It was, the pace was strong and there was no let up. There was no point of that race where the pace slowed up. And it is a lot for a horse of that age. Look, the BHA have made changes, and I think we have to take our hat off to them with many of the changes, with the amount of completions you have to do, but they will look into it. But I do agree. I think 13-year-old maybe for the Grand National and like you say, I'm sure it'll be changed.
And again, this is no criticism of the master, Philip Hobbs, who I adore. It's no criticism of Michael Nolan on as far as this point is concerned. But on what we're seeing, you know, the Grand National has been winning by horses in the 160s. There aren't many 13-year-olds still rated 160. Celeb Dallon was rated 147. So you're not going to lose many horses. And I know Brendan Powell Sr. put up a tweet on X saying Ordaniti, Red Rum, Lescargo, Royal Athlete, Amberley House, Little Polvier, Ben Nevis, Highland Spirit, Team Spirit, all great household names now who won the Grand National age 12. But all of those horses were in the old type Grand National.
Yeah, different race.
And I don't really, much that I completely understand the point Brendan's making, I actually don't think it's got any relevance at all now. Like, we show old clips of the Grand National before the Grand National, but they're no relevance to the race you're about to watch. They're just not. There's nothing to do with it. It's a completely different race.
A totally different race. And look, we're Philip Hobbs, master trainer, and all his team. We're not here sitting here telling people what to do. But I think, you know, Micheál Nolan's probably got to take the flak more than anyone. And moving forward, maybe a horse of that age, the Grand National might just be a bit too much.
Yeah. I want to look back at some of the other races away because we're going to speak to... We have to start on a serious note because it's a serious week this week. But hopefully the show will lighten up a little bit in the hope that Willie picks up. Impere Pass, Mercia, Gaelic Warrior, Lossiemouth. Bang, 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 bang. Constitution Hill falls again. I mean, you couldn't get much more drama for the first 4 races of Aintree 2025.
Well, there's no drama for Willie Mullins. He won the first 4, didn't he?
As I just said, Brad.
No, you didn't. You missed the first one.
No, I didn't.
Yes,
I
you did.
Not.
Did you?
When you watch that back, you'll regret having said that.
Right. Anyway,
you will apologise now rather than to me personally
later when I...
Yeah. So he's banged in the first 4. First of all, just quickly, Patrick, Gaelic Warrior, how good a ride was that?
World class.
Yeah.
World class. I didn't see that. Unbelievable training, but amateur by name. I'm not sure he is by demand. He's incredible to watch, and it's one of his best ever rides, I'd say.
So I'm a journalist at heart. That's what I was trained for.
That's what I tell you not.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. When I was trained for, wrote the news first 6 pages of the Racing Post for 6 years of my life. Straight after the first race, Willie, Trainers' Championship, he laughed it off. Second race, Willie, Trainers' Championship, he started to get a bit twinkly, but laughed it off. Third race, he beat Skelton. Willie, Trainers' Championship. And between those, I'd spoken to Skelton. Now, Dan is charming personified, and he has acted brilliantly over this, which must be hurting as much as anything could hurt, because he thinks he's won it. It's going to be taken away, I think. Yeah. But when Gaelic Warrior beat Grey Dawning, I mean, the writing was on the wall, as they old say in the Bible, isn't it? It's like, you're something odd's going on here.
Well, it's not the best start to the meeting, is it? And it got much worse for Dan's sake regarding the title.
Yeah. A lot of people came up to me, Aintree, after Lossiemouth saying, you know what, Paddy was right after all. I find that quite offensive. You had a bet, you lost that bet, and you still have failed to produce dinner. But we'll move on.
Yeah, please do.
Because shows do move on, particularly good ones like this one. I mean, ultimately, Lossiemouth's defeat of Woodhull was not impressive because Woodhull is only rated 150 odd. But she did it. Well, I really want to talk about Constitution Hill, though. Why is he doing this?
Matt, when I watched him fall at Cheltenham, I thought he'll do that again. He'll do that again. It didn't hurt. He rolled around on the ground, he got up, he thought, yeah, and I'll tell you what he won't do, Matt. He'll never do that again. He will never do that again. He was lucky to get up and walk away. And I mean that hurt. When I used to ride as jockey, I didn't know how to slip my reins. I said to Noel Feely one day, what am I doing wrong? He says, you'll learn. I'm thinking, well, I ain't learning. Because every time the horse makes a mistake, I go flying out over its head and it hurts. Eventually, I held its reins. I landed in the ground. It was like I'd been baited up in a nightclub by 5 people. And I mean that. I learned to slip my reins. Constitution Hill will never do what he did again at Aintree. Now, people go on about fences and telling Nicky Henderson, and they're giving the postcode because they almost want to train it and fences and all this bollocks. And I mean that. The one thing I'd change with Constitution Hill, and it ain't what you think I'm going to say, is stop bitting his mouth. Take that bit out of his mouth, Matt, and put a rubber bit in. And I mean that. And when Nico wants to say yeah or no, it's not as... The minute he touched him, he said no. Constitution Hill said yeah. I think moving forward, they'll ride him differently. What way would I ride him if he was run the next day? I'd make the running. Now, what's your thoughts?
I completely agree on tactics. I've got to say, and it's not hindsight, I didn't understand the whole hold-up.
Oh, I think Tell Her the Name changed all tactics in that race, Matt. I mean, I'd say Nico had a plan. Paul Townsend had a plan.
Townend.
One of them wanted to make the running. They weren't going to say which one. And then they get to the start and Keelan Woods is making on Tell Her the Name. 10 lengths clear.
But I don't blame Nicolai for that because Nicky Henderson was absolutely adamant that horse was to be held up. And, you know, maybe he didn't get the best round the home bend. We all know that. Nicolai knows that. But when your trainer instructs you to do something, specifically like this, I know people say like, well, you have to change, go from plan A to plan B. You do in some races. But in that race, he had been instructed not to lead. And I think all hell would have broken out if he had suddenly gone to the front. But in Ireland, provided he lines up, which I'm expecting him to do, obviously, Brighter Days Ahead, if she's in it, should get a pacemaker. Again, the old king of what's it will be in there. I'd just sit Constitution Hill right up the arse of the pacemaker. Maybe just to the right a little bit.
You know you can go around London in a tube, yeah?
I did know that, Patrick. Yeah, it's called the Underground.
When this tube stops at
a station?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the door's open, what do you do? And you need to get off, what do you do?
If I needed to get off, I would definitely get out.
Yeah, before what happens to doors?
Mind the gap.
No, what happens to the doors if you don't get out quick enough?
They close. Have I answered the question yet?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, but anyway.
And that was unbelievable race riding. Danny Gilligan, Harry Skelton, Paul Townsend.
Townend,
whatever his name's called. You watch that race riding from turning out of the back. Harry Skelton pulling it up. Paul Townend, the whole way to 2 out, he's left, right, left. Awareness. Matt, when your tube stops at the station and the door's open, get out. And move on.
If I've got out, I can't move on.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh, no, trust me, I was fearing when you look at me like that. It's really scary, honestly, it really is.
Have you been locked in anywhere in your life?
Have I ever been locked in anywhere in my life? I've been locked out of places.
But what about locked in?
I don't think so, no. I probably have.
Well,
I mean, I've lost my... I'm sure I have.
If you're riding, as you say it, the greatest horse in horse racing, try not to get locked in.
Handcuffs once, but...
Oh, nice. Go on.
She did let me out eventually. Oh, yeah, I wanted to ask you something. So none of us really know what a horse is seeing. Is it possible that these white hurdles, for whatever reason, don't suit Constitution Hill's eyesight? And it might simply be that going back to the old type of hurdle in Ireland, he might go back to being just the normal Constitution Hill. Could it be the white hurdles?
No, absolute bollocks, man.
How do you know?
Because I know.
How do you know?
What did he do?
Don't you tell me it's bollocks when you don't know.
What did he do?
How do you know?
What did he do in the last when he won the champion hurl? Where did he come from? Was he short? Was he long? Or what colours were they in? Where did he jump that?
I don't know, but he made a mistake.
He didn't make any mistake. When he won the
champion hurl.
Yeah. Came at the wings, just got there.
Maybe his eyes.
You want me to paint them purple or pink?
Maybe he needs to go to Specsavers or something and get them checked.
Maybe.
I'm just saying.
No, Matt, I don't agree. I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Tactics.
If he pinged every hurdle in Ireland right, you'd just say he's learned though, wouldn't you now? You wouldn't say my theory's right.
I've just said to you, he won't do what he did again in Aintree.
Okay. Cobden, I thought was good on Sainsbury. I thought that was a good ride. I love Cobden from the front.
You know, Cobden's...
You don't like Cobden?
Likes a bit of modelling, as you've seen. He does a bit of all that carry on, but he was at his best at Aintree. But you know what helps with Aintree, Matt? Turn up, get on a winner, early, bang. You know you're going out on the next few. However good you think he was in all them, that Caliph de Burle, what's it called?
Caliph de Burle.
Caliph de Burle, he blew me away, Matt.
Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Because before that we had Caldwell Potter. I mean, what a turnaround. Although, actually, this horse has never been bad this season. He has just been mocked because of his price.
Yeah.
But he's never been bad. But, I mean, classic, isn't it? This is why we'll come up with the theory. Everyone was saying he's a mudlark. He's a mudlark. He needs heavy ground. He's come from Ireland. He had heavy ground in Ireland. Now he's pinged off ground the last twice with beautiful. I mean, you won't see a horse who's jumped better than Caldwell Potter in the last two starts.
No, but Matt, I think Paul Nicholls had a tough season. And I think if I was lucky enough to have lunch with him 3 days, the week before Aintree down in Ditchy, and the manor which is reopened and is outstanding if you can get to go there. Matt, Paul Nicholls hasn't forgot to train overnight, and I thought the way he turned them horses out in Aintree, you're going about Caldwell Potter, that's not happened by accident.
No.
You need to go there and see the way they're schooled and in around that school. He's all about schooling, and he's all about jumping. Like Skelton's, jump, jump, jump. You watch him when they run, Matt. It's done at home. I promise you.
Salvatore Mundi beat Romeo Coolio. Salvatore Mundi, clearly talented. Maybe he's beginning to come of age. Romeo Coolio, he's a big chaser. I spoke to the owners straight after. I think they're really looking at 2.5 miles as a chaser next season, which is going to be him a problem at Cheltenham because he's either going to have to go back to the Arkle or up. I would suggest he probably go back to the Arkle rather than up if that's the way he goes. And Jonbon, I mean, what a man Chastel is. I mean, you mess up, you're in bits, crying in the weighing room, not looking at everyone, throwing things at people. Nikolai dusts himself down, goes out and gives Jonbon an absolute peach.
You would have won on Jonbon, Matt. I thought you gave him a good ride, but calm down.
There's nothing wrong with saying something nice about someone occasionally.
I haven't said anything bad about him, have I? And what else? I see, what was that? Jockey Cup or something? Jack Power or something, is it?
David Power.
David Power, yeah. Giving these lads...
Jack Hyde.
Hundreds of thousands.
David Power.
You know you're giving them lads Nico de Bonville hundreds of thousands, man. You know you may as well do. Drive down the motorway in a car and chuck it out the window. That's a fact.
if you are listening on Spotify, I would just like to say to you that jealousy rears its ugly head in many forms.
Hold on, there's no
If you're
jealousy.
watching on YouTube, you're seeing the jealousy. That's jealousy.
There's absolutely no jealousy here, Matt. You're throwing hundreds of thousands of people. Think of the lesser people, the stable staff. Why can't we do more for them? I've worked in yards. I know how much pool money means, and I know how much money like that means to them.
But Pad, everyone watching this, and me included, agree with you, but it's not the competition. This is a competition to promote the sport via the people who might be able to bring the sport to the audience.
But Nico de Bonville doesn't need hundreds of thousands.
But he might not have won it.
We did.
But that's the prize for promoting the sport. That's the prize for being amazing on Unbridled every week and promoting the sport. That's the prize for going on TV and doing hundreds and hundreds of ridiculous questions about, does he prefer Guinness or lager? Does he, can he remember 3 songs written by, or not songs, but 3 concertos written by a certain composer? That's the reward for trying to sell the sport. You've got to understand the comp.
Yeah, I got you. But lads like that got that much money, Matt. Roll the window down. In our day, we rolled the window down. We didn't have a button to press the window to go down. Throw it out there. Next question.
Have you really not got a button on your car for your window?
No, when we were brought up in life.
I've always had a button for
Bet
my
you have.
window. Yeah, ever since.
And hair gel as well.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think buttons on windows are new things.
No.
Are they? I think it's a terrible example you picked there. You've let yourself down with that whole conversation. You really have. Go home after this and just have a think about what you've just said. Saturday, got to have a word about Robcore. First and second in the stairs hurdle at Cheltenham, and then Hidden Valley Lake goes and wins the stairs at Aintree. They've rather cornered the market, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the Tiapu decision was a big decision, Matt. Ground, obviously, they've done a great job up there, but, they pulled him out, rightly so. And what a season. Rob Kerr to win the stairs, pull Tiapu out and still win it at Aintree.
And just coming back to Khalif de Burle was impressive in the Grade 1. Lodesud only third. You know what I've decided about Lodesud? He's just not as good as we all want him to be.
He's had a tough enough season though, hasn't he?
But he's not as good. He wasn't as good a hurdler as they thought he was going to be. He's not as good a chaser as we want him to be. I say this to you now. Do you think Lodesud's going to win the Tingle Creek?
No.
No. Do you think he's going to win a champion chase?
No.
He's not as good as we thought he'd be, though, is he? Because he's not. He could win Grade 2s and 3s, but if they find a Grade 1, it will be supreme placing from Skelton, I think. Yeah. And I just mentioned on the Trainers' Championship, poor old Dan.
Tough game. But you go back to Paul Nicholls' days, he was a 6-time second to Martin Pipe. Be some party when Dan wins it, but it's not over yet.
So, Pat, did you ever think that Willie Mullins would agree to talk to us?
Absolutely never.
No, nor did I, to be quite frank. I rang him yesterday. I flattered him for about 10 minutes, and then I felt guilty about it. And I said, Willie, I've been flattering you because I really need you to do me a favour. And he just said yes.
Brilliant.
I think he was still high from Saturday, to be fair. Let's go straight to him. There he is. I think it's 17 times champion trainer of Ireland. First man since Vincent O'Brien in 70 years to be champion of Great Britain. 18 winners at Cheltenham and Aintree this year. First winner to 100 at the Cheltenham Festival. If I go through all the stats, Willie, I'll never get to speak to you. Good morning.
We won't. We'll start talking, Matt. I'm just watching my son doing my job here, training all the horses. He's over in the background there. I don't know whether you can see him through the tree or the camera, Gillian. So that's Patrick telling everyone what to do while you and me natter away.
We can see him. He's just to the left of the stump there, and not a bad jockey.
Sorry?
Not a bad jockey, Willie.
No, he comes in handy now and again.
So Willie,
he's just down there telling everyone what to do this morning.
Yeah, but remember, he's not going to take over for a long time, is he?
Hopefully not. Now he's been able to do it. I mean, he comes up there like that, and he works away when I'm not there.
So, Willie,
You know,
I wanted to
that's
go.
very seldom that, you know.
I wanted to go back to Saturday as we got Nick Rockett right behind you there, and just,
Yes.
I mean, I guess if you win the Grand National, the last person you want to see immediately after the race is me with a microphone. But that was what you were lumbered with, and
Exactly.
Patrick had said he'd never seen you with that kind of emotion before in his life, and he's your son. I'd never seen it before. Had you actually ever seen that in yourself? Did you almost become a different person for a few minutes?
Totally. I mean, I was watching the race unfold, and from the time I saw the jump he put into the canal turn, I said, this horse has a lot of energy still left in him. And my eyes were solely on Patrick all the time. We had so many runners in the race, I just said, I can't watch them all, so I was watching Patrick's colours from the start. And then just glimpses of our other horses were coming in and out of the picture. 3 of them were in a line most of the way. And, you know, 1 or 2 in front of them and 1 or 2 behind them. And I just found if I centred on Patrick, it was easy. And then you know, canal turn, the big jump. And I said, if anything, if you can just keep jumping and without a mistake or something falling in front of him, he has every chance. And that's the way the whole race evolved around Patrick. And he just got some tremendous jumps out of him. And when, you know, the horse saw some great strides, Patrick saw some great strides. And as the thing was evolving, I was thinking, oh God, I'd love to have had my parents here. I'd love to have had a good pal of mine who died actually this week, 6 years ago, Dr. pal of mine, Brendan Doyle. You know, all the people that matter to you. Patrick was thinking he would love to have had his pal, Ronan Lawler, who was only 21 when he got killed off a horse. You know, you start thinking of who you'd love to have there. And that sort of emotion was all just welling up in me. And then eventually when, you know, I thought coming around the elbow he was beaten and all that disappeared. And then he got around the elbow and Patrick got down to ride him and the horse just responded. And you could see whatever it was, a furlong out, that he was going to win. And just too much time to think, I think. That was it. I didn't even realise what was 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th until about, I'd say, 20 minutes after the race when one of the pressmen, probably yourself, told me, you know, that was it. I just saw Patrick, Nick Rockett, Ian Maximus and Paul Townsend crossing the line. And then I just lost it completely. But that was it.
And it was fabulous to see. And also it really shows us what it means to be a Mullins. And I'm sure the history of your family going through as well. Let's just quickly have a word about Mum, Maureen, because not only, of course, has she produced you, and I know you're modest, but at the end of the day, you've broken all the records. But if you think that Patrick's ridden the Grand National winner, David Mullins has ridden the Grand National winner, Emmett Mullins has trained a Grand National winner. It's quite extraordinary, the family. I mean, it's never going to happen again, ever.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, from the time the sort of knee-high, the first race you see on TV is the Grand National. And, you know, most kids want to grow up to be sort of Pele or, you know, the best footballer in the land. We all want to grow up to be the top jockey and riding the winner of the National is one of those things. So it's in our sort of DNA. We want to be that person. And to get a ride in the Grand National, to have a run in the Grand National as a trainer, to get a ride in the Grand National as a jockey is huge. People will tell you when they ride in the Grand National and actually finish, it's like riding about 10 winners just to finish, not even to, you know, win or be placed. So to win one is just a huge high. I remember when Hedgehunter won, I was the only day of disappointment I had the whole year. For the following 365 days was on the last day when another horse passed the winning line. And next thing, I wasn't the Grand National winning trainer anymore. That's how much it means to people. I think I was on a high for a whole year. So I expect to be on a high for another year here.
Martin Pipe.
Well, I hope I am.
Martin Pipe sent me a message last night. I was just chatting to him and he said, it's just brilliant for Willie. Amazing, a wonderful achievement, not only by Willie, but Jackie and Patrick and all the hard-working team at Clasutton. Results that dreams are made of, magic. And that's coming from a record breaker. I mean, he looks fresh as as a what's it behind you there. I mean,
Yes,
is he done for the season, Willie?
Who knows who's done for the season at this stage now, the way the Trainers' Championship has opened up.
Could he run at Sandown?
We will have to see. I mean, he's in great form. Came home from the race well. I think everything is entered up everywhere. Congratulations to Dan Skelton this morning. I think it was his birthday. 40 years of age. So
I'm not sure it's a very happy one, Willie.
Anyhow.
Only you could bring that up on. Yeah, happy birthday, Dan. I'm about to nick your Trainers' Championship.
Willie, if I could just butt in quickly, honestly, we don't want to gloat too much, but, you know, we started this Unbridled show, I don't know how long ago, and to be speaking to you doesn't feel real, but obviously having spent time in Jim Bulger's going back to 2000, Willie, I was there 96 to 2001. Worked with Dick Dowling.
Yes, I think I was 82, 83.
Yeah, I worked with people like Dick Dowling and that, who sort of since gone on to work for you and are still there now. Like, you are probably, in national hunt racing in the UK, Willie Mullins is talked about every day, everywhere I go. It's just your standards are so high. And obviously you've come so far from the time that I was in Jim Bulger's and I used to come around and see some of your staff. It really is incredible. And watching you on Saturday, the one thing I watched over and over, Willie, was when your reaction when Patrick went by the line. Your celebration is never excitement and one to punch the air. You were just relief. Every time you win a big race, you just blow out. You just puff. Yeah. And Patrick took 7. He's the first time I've ever seen you take more than 2 puffs, and it's incredible viewing. And honestly, so proud of. I haven't texted Patrick yet because he has so many messages, but I will. And it was for someone that's not involved in your family. It was goosebump stuff, and well done.
Thank you. Yes, it was to me. I mean, we're lucky enough to have some great owners, great horses. But Saturday blew me out of the water. You know, it was just unbelievable to have. As any father would know, if you have your son even playing football in the local league or the local GAA, whatever it is, and they can score a winning goal or a winning try, or in rugby, you know, you feel immensely proud. But to be able to put him up on a horse in the Grand National, and there's far more pressure, I think, when he's your son, putting him in there ahead of a lot of professionals. So it's inner pressure that you probably don't show before the race, and for him to come up trumps, because as you know, when an amateur makes a mistake, it'll be pounced on straight away, and you know, so there's that pressure that people probably wouldn't realise, and then when it all comes together, it's fantastic.
And finally, for me, Willie, just on Patrick, Gaelic warrior, like, you know, we let's not forget that ride. I couldn't believe it won, and 2, it was an incredible ride. That was some training performance to get him back to win a Betfair Bowl.
Thank you. And as Ruby pointed out, I got a little glimpse of what Ruby said after the race and the way he analysed it. You know, it's probably right. He was he was tremendous and cool on the horse, but he's always been cool on the horse.
Willie, we won't keep you forever, but just because
you're all right. I think we have all the work done here now.
Okay, you're a legend. Thank you so much. Because obviously straight after a race, you concentrate on the winner. And
yes,
on Saturday, I didn't get much of a chance really to ask you about the places because all the motion was about the winner. But I Am Maximus was a winner in his own right. I think it was the highest weight carrying performance almost just about by any Grand National horse in second place. You must have been incredibly proud. I think since the war, only Red Rum, yourself with Hedge Hunter and Comply or Die have gone on to finish second after winning the race. I mean, it was a monster effort.
It was, and I was only thinking this morning, the handicapper gets a lot of stick, especially at the weights lunch, you know, but he's got his job to do. And I think there was a picture of something like 4 or 5 horses jumping the last together or the second last together, which to get all those horses together so close to the finish, it's a monumental job, a huge job. And I don't want to give him too big a head, but it was a tremendous job. You know, what he did Saturday, I think, to get all those horses together.
Well, it's always good to butter him up before
Nick gets handicapped for next year, Willie. You're playing the cards right already, you see. This is where Mullins thinks ahead a year. Right, I'll start buttering up the handicapper. And a lot of people think that Grangeclair West might have won, bar a bad mistake. You'll have watched it back now, and that horse did make a bad error when coming to challenge.
When he was going very well. I didn't watch it back, no.
You won't?
I'll do that maybe towards the weekend. But what I found very interesting, I got 2 phone calls during the week, one from Ted Walsh, one from Paul Carberry. And both of them were, they said, very sentimental watching Ted watching his son Ruby and Paul just watching himself and father Tommy with their 2 winners. As Ted said to me, I'm delighted you showed how I felt and things like that, so it's just a natural, I think a natural feeling for people.
Has the attitude, like staff-wise, have they taken the mick a little bit, or are they too scared to do that anyway with the Supreme Commander?
Too scared, Matt. Too scared.
Willie, I've just got a question on.
Well, maybe tonight now when we have our parade tonight, and we're probably going to have a few drinks afterwards. So
probably
get her fixed tonight.
Probably.
You got a lovely evening for Willie. Just finally, I said finally before, but I have one more question. Lossiemouth, she's been a big talking point this season. Her Constitution Hill. Look, we never probably got Bar Kempton, where I agreed with you. As soon as she jumped to first, I thought she was in trouble. But where will we see her again? Is it Punchestown?
We really haven't gone through all the stuff. I just spoke to David, who does most of my planning, before I came up here to the Gallop, and I said we'll try and sort it out over the next day or two. He's got all the horses entered everywhere, and I'd need a bit of advice off Matt. Maybe Matt might tell me where we should go.
Well, you got State Man, haven't you? So I actually thought you might go to Sandown with Lossiemouth and State Man in Punchestown. Willie, actually, if you end up doing that, I will be expecting 10%. But for me, that looked the obvious way. You need the prize money. Lossie could walk round at Sandown for probably 30, 40 grand.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can do that. I know there's the race in Punchestown, probably worth a lot more. We did that with Benny de Dieu, and do you remember, we couldn't win it numerically with 2 or 3 races to go, and we pulled her out to go to Punchestown, and I was fined about 2 grand by the Newbury stewards, and I remember being one of the English trainers said to the thing, if I was the steward, I'd have fined him about 4 grand. George Baker, yes. And so I met George after, thinking, if I ever get him, I'm going.
Come on, Willie. Come on, Willie.
So I met him actually in, of all places, in Nashville. And he came over, Willie, great performance. And actually we got on quite well. We had a great weekend. He brought over a cricket team of all his owners to beat all those Tennessee people. But what he didn't realize at the time was that all the taxi drivers in Tennessee are all ex-international cricketers. So they got trounced. But we had great fun getting trounced anyhow.
Just finally, I'm so interested in this family because you won the Fox Hunter. What was it? 80? What was it? 83 on Atherclear. Yes, actually, yes. Just to completely angle. Tiny field, Willie. There was hardly anyone who put up any opposition. I watched that back the other day.
Yeah, but did you see who was in the opposition?
You always have an answer for everything. Okay.
He said, who was in the opposition?
I think Ian Balding, Sandy Dudgeon's chief stipendiary steward, their chief of the jockey club. There was 3 or 4 more, and they were all people in racing, top people in racing. After, I just can't name any more of them at a minute.
Willie, just on one serious note, you know the difficulties with the Grand National, and obviously we did lose a horse last week. People 100% respect every word that comes out of your mouth. In general terms, what would you say about the Grand National as it is right now?
a much safer race. As all the older jockeys would say, oh, it's nothing compared to when we were riding, but it's much safer. And it was nearly gone 25, 30 years ago, except for Mike Dillon and Ladbrokes and whoever, the people, I can't remember all the people at the time.
Nigel Payne.
And yes, and sorry, just my cameraman is getting tired here. And, the fact that we have £1 million for the in prize money, that's huge. But we still have the glamour of the race. We still have the romance of the race. And look at what Aintree has grown to compared to what it was 30 years ago. And many people came in the gate, if they got 20,000 over the 3 days, they were lucky. And now they're getting that. I don't know what they're getting per day, but they're getting way more than that. And it's a huge festival. So it shows what can be done with the right promotion, with the right attitude towards racing. Look after all the participants, which they are, all the horses, and the jockeys. I don't know if there was any bad injuries over the weekend in the jockey sphere.
No, one broken wrist.
Yeah, so everything's been tidied up. In every sport, there's injuries. You take cycling. Yeah, I was talking to Dennis Walsh on the Times, and the amount of people he told me were killed cycling every year. And we never, now this is competitive cycling, and we never hear that. How many people do you hear falling down with heart problems on the rugby pitch, on any, on the frontal pitch? We saw with it Ericsson, who plays Manchester United, nearly passed away on the pitch. Every day in Ireland and England, every day all over the world, animals get killed with cars, people get killed with cars, but there's no sign of anyone saying we shouldn't have any more cars or any more pets. It's just a part of life, and we have to get on with it. Nothing is sweet all the time. You have to have good days and bad days, and horses are no different, and they're looked after so well here, not only here, but by all training establishments. They all have their pet named, as we found out this morning, and the people love their horses like they do their best friends or like their brothers or sisters. And it's not like they come in at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 or 6 and go home at whatever time, 4, 5 or 6, and forget about them. I mean, I had telephone calls from my staff thinking, just last night, Katie rang me and said one of our horses was colicking, and treated it, and we put it out in the paddock, and I was to bring it in at 9 o'clock last night. I arrived home about 10. Bit of feck wouldn't come in, so I left him out in the paddock, but it was a beautiful night anyhow, so I couldn't catch him in the dark. But so even after hours, people are there all hours of the day and night looking after their stock, and the horses are really well cared for. They're like anyone's pets, cats or dogs, and we look out the best we can for them, And so I don't know why racing gets such a bad reputation. Now, I mean, there are things we can clean up in racing, and but then again, we can clean up lots of things in lots of sports, and even without sports, just animal welfare. Being it on the farm, being all those things, they're all part and parcel of just living and growing up, and we all try to make the best of everything all the time. At least some people like us try to improve all the aspects of how a horse or an animal, be it a cow, a sheep, whatever, lives, and they're the things that we've all got to try and improve. You're never going to have everything perfect, but it's as near as perfect as we can get it in our part of the world.
Mm. And just finally, away from the Grand National, 18 winners at Cheltenham and Aintree. You won 37% of the races at Cheltenham and Aintree this year. When you started in 1988, if someone was going to tell you you'd win nearly half the races at Cheltenham and Aintree in 1 year,
I'd have had them taken away with the white people in the white coats. Absolute and utter crap. For me, I remember having our first runner in Cheltenham. I'm not sure whether he pulled up or finished last. but that was huge. And then we went on to have a first winner in Cheltenham, and I thank God coming home, I said to myself, if I'm never ever in Cheltenham again, I don't care. I've been there and I've done it. To me, that's what doing it was, and that's and I don't forget that with smaller trainers now. They were in the same position I was in that time. Of course, I never dreamt where I'd be now, but I know what it's like for a small trainer bringing one horse over, having to look after it. He has to find out all the difficulties that we found out along the way. And the only way you find out those things is to go and actually do it. People can tell you about all the things, what to do and what to expect and how to counteract them. I mean, even a few years ago, I remember our first runner in America, and we had everything right, and we thought we had everything right. And next thing, when the horse was put in the stalls, two things. One, the stall handler sits up on the top of the stalls with the horse, and secondly, the bell. So when the bell went off in the stalls, my two horses looked around as much as say, what the hell was that? While the field jumped out and gone, you know. So now I've got a bell on my stalls in case I have one going to America.
Always thinking that.
But things like that, you only find out those things when you go and travel, and you've got to find out all those things for yourself.
And you got one of the best behaved Grand National winners who you didn't rule out. I mean, you didn't answer the question, but you didn't rule him out at Sandown, I noticed, in typical Mullins style. Yeah, well, yeah.
Matt, you know me.
I do.
I'd say about 20% of your questions.
Yeah.
Are researching.
I know, to be fair, I've learned what to ask and what to ask now and not to ask. So I just wait for that little twinkle in the eye and I know I'm done. And I feel I'm getting that twinkle now. Finally, I just want to wrap up by saying when your mum, Maureen, and Paddy got together, they had incredible times, dawn run, etc. But I would imagine looking down now, if when they see you doing what you're doing, and as I said before, the fact that Patrick has won a Grand National, Emmett has won a Grand National, David has won a Grand National, this is an incredible family. We know what it means to you as family, which I think everyone should take on board as much as your achievements. Family is important. And as a family, the Mullinses are people we can all try and be like in every sense: human, training, performance, working, and in your case, drinking.
Matt, I go for the conversation. But the other thing too, which a lot of people forget, or probably a lot of people are alive, they don't, or dead, and the other people don't know it, was that my father trained Hurry Harry to win the Champion Stakes in Newmarket in 73, and that was done without an all-weather gallop. It was just done on sort of stubble fields at home, and maybe one or two visits to the Curragh. You know, that to me was one of the greatest achievements of all time, to have a horse like Hurry Harriet and to win the Champion Stakes. I mean, you know, in Newmarket, beating Alley France, who was probably one of the greatest mares of all time. You know, he probably never got the whatever it was for doing that. I mean, everyone associates him with Dawn Run winning the Champion Hurl and the Gold Cup, but in his mind, I think that was probably one of his greatest achievements, and probably in my mind too.
Yeah, Alley France, who would win the 1974 Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, some horse to beat. So, Willie, you've given us about half an hour longer than I thought you would. Definitely half an hour longer than I asked for when I said it'll be 5 minutes max, Will. Can you thank Ruby Walsh for holding the phone?
Actually, it was Groin this morning who was holding the phone for me.
I did know that.
Who runs my office and probably runs me.
And who's holding Nick Rockett?
Katie Wharton.
Katie, thank you so much. Yeah. And to Nick Rockett, if you can hear me, thank you for what you did at the weekend. It was so special. Willie Mullins.
Are you coming over for our parade in Loughlin Bridge this evening?
We'd love to be.
We would love to be, but unfortunately...
Between 5 and 6 o'clock, it'll probably go on till 7 or 8. Maybe a bit longer, you wouldn't know.
Yeah, 7 and 8 in the morning.
Willie, one question.
Well.
Are you a Guinness or a lager man?
It depends on the humour I'm in. Lager mostly, but after talking to Matt for half an hour to begin us all.
Well, whatever you're drinking tonight at 5 o'clock will taste good. Congratulations and thanks so much.
And I just finally would like everyone to note that I have held praise and statistic after statistic after this man, and still at the end he's having a pop at me. It's I did enjoy Aintree though.
We won't do it tonight, but if you do find time to come, we'd love to have you there. And for anyone else that's watching and living nearby, you don't even have to live nearby. You can come from wherever you want. It's open house. We'll try and keep the horses there as long as we can. People love to have the photograph taken with them, autographs with the jockeys, whatever. And if the horses stay quiet, we'll be in the village as long as the horses can stand it.
Tab on you, Will.
Sorry?
Is the tab on you at the Bagnall?
Oh, you wouldn't know.
Look, we're going to let you go.
Feeling very generous.
Yeah, look, absolutely fantastic what you've achieved. It is miracle stuff, and it's a miracle family. Willie Mullins, thank you for being unbridled with us today. I really appreciate it.
Cheers, Willie. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Top man.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. And one last word of these.
What?
Say hello to Katie.
Hello, Katie.
Katie.
Hold on, we're carrying on. Katie, what's it like to work for Willie Mullins?
Unbelievable. He's an absolute gentleman to work for. As lucky as we are to have him, he's lucky to have us.
Okay, you said all the right things. What's it like to work for Willie Mullins? He's a well-behaved horse, though, isn't he?
Well, when he wants to be. He's come out of that race very well, though, so he's done quite well now today.
When you say when he wants to be, is he got a bit of character?
Definitely, yeah. He's quirky. He's very easy to look after. He makes my job very easy, to be fair.
Katie, I thought, what was lovely after the Grand National is the airtime and the support you got. I think you are, as much as we could talk about Willie and the owners, you are a massive part of this horse, and it was so great to see all over the TV on Saturday. For someone that's never met you, I think you've become pretty famous after Saturday, and it's brilliant to see because we need more of the staff, we need more of the stable staff, and congratulations, it was awesome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to deal with. Thank you very much.
Do you have a nickname, Katie?
I'm Katie. That's Knickers.
Sorry.
Knickers.
You're legends, all of you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thanks
so much.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. I want to talk about the Scottish National. It comes up, if you didn't know, Patrick, on Saturday. We don't know what Willie is going to run, and he's certainly... Well, we just don't know, do we, what he's going to run. But at this early stage, does anything stand out for you in the Scottish Grand National?
I like Apple away, Matt. I just don't know why I pulled up last time.
She.
Locally trained. And like Willie's got 7. All the money and talk's been chosen witness, but after that I'd be guessing. Is there anything you like?
It's really hard not knowing what Willie likes, but when you go through there, there's not much in there that you would say from here, wow, that is a really, really strong stayer. I guess if I was pushed for one that might run quite well, I think Sam Thomas does know the time of day, and if our power was to run, I think he would be interesting.
Does run, I think, Matt.
Yeah, I think he would be interesting, but he's by no means guaranteed to stay. He did run in the Grand National, I think, once upon a time, our power. He finished, let me just look it up. I'm sure he ran in the Grand National. You know what? You know the horse I'll probably end up tipping? Surrey Quest.
Yeah.
I've tipped him in every run this season. The owners have gone bonkers at me every time because I've ruined him. But he went this close to winning it last year. He's got 139 rating, and when he ran in it last year, he was 133. He's £6 higher, but he stays and he goes on goodish ground. It was soft ground last year, which I think actually might have been a bit soft for him. So he might negate the £6 with the better ground. Surrey Quest.
Yeah, I think he looked through it. Like, obviously, Willie's...
But away from Willie Mullins.
He could run 7 in this map. 6. Yeah, it's winnable. You want to be a fresh horse, which Surrey Quest probably is, not having run for 69 days, and it's decent ground, so you want to get a horse that goes on nice ground.
What about the Scottish Champion Hurdle? It's not quite the race it once was, where all the great horses from Cheltenham used to go up to the Scottish Champion Hurdle. I remember Alderbrook winning the Scottish Champion Hurdle. It's now just a handicap, unfortunately, a limited handicap. Again, I mean, Mullins is going to win it, isn't he? If he runs Carjaysi or Absurd, Ethical Diamond would have a chance. Joyeuse is interesting because she is back down in class.
Paul Nicholls' horse is interesting.
Which one?
Cabral du Matin.
Yeah, Cabral du Matin. Mm-hmm.
And Dice Artinos, obviously the big price. Look, be a tough season for her. And do you know what, Matt? They put her up £2 for running at Cheltenham. She didn't even. I didn't think she ran that well, and she went up £2. So that ain't going to help her chances. So, Jay-Z would have won slower ground.
Okay, Cabral du Matin. Yeah. Joyeuse went up 15 for the win at Newbury, but she was impressive that day. And obviously, this is very different to taking on Lossiemouth, which she did last time. And she wasn't disgraced in 6th, to be honest, for all that she was never, ever going to win the race.
Yeah, just ground. Big thing this weekend again, Matt. Will it ever rain?
So, Pad, Nick Scholfield has retired. I've got to say that I have had a soft spot for Scholfield all my career. I've always enjoyed talking to him. I almost have made him, I think, because I'm pretty sure that I am responsible for him being called Smiley Scholfield, but I might not be. Yeah. But just before we go to him, because he can't hear what we're saying right now, how would you have rated Scholfield as a rider?
Well, he learned from the best. He was in Paul Nicholls' as a time when you got Ruby Walsh, Harry Skelton. They sort of started together. He had a great upbringing.
Yeah, Pat, okay, I know he learned well. We've heard all this on other podcasts about how great he was, but how did you rate him? Was he any good or not?
Yeah, he was good.
Was he?
Yeah, he was.
At what?
He was tactically very good.
Was he?
Yeah, and always bring a horse back for another day if things didn't work out. Nick's experience will be missed in the game.
Okay, let's go to him. Luckily, he hasn't heard any of that. Right, there he is. Smiley Scholfield, smiling. How are you, Nicholas?
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
How does it feel not getting up and going to the races?
Get up earlier now and having to work, basically.
So hold on, let's just get things, because you're standing next to a horse. You're about to start training. When would you send out your first runner, for instance?
It wouldn't be to the end of the year, so we're very early stages. But yeah, so it's Rome wasn't built in a day, so we're basically at the very bottom, and we're just trying our best, and be towards the end of the year probably, realistically.
So who have we got next to you right now?
My very last horse that I won on there's 3 meetings that day. Probably nobody noticed, but he won at Utoxeter, and that was my last winner. So he's a nice horse.
Oh,
he's just having his summer break now, so he's just relaxing like me.
So is this your place that we're at this minute? Like, is this your yard?
No, it's just a place we're renting at the moment. So it's serving us well.
And when you say we, you've emphasised this all throughout your conversations. Who is we?
I have people helping me. I can't do it on my own. So it's
anyone in particular?
Holding the phone currently is Hannah. So she's the chief work rider.
Right, and isn't she a bit more important than that?
Oh, I tried to keep her feet on the ground, but she does take me out for dinner occasionally.
I mean, I would have spoken to her a little bit more highly than that, wouldn't you, Paddy?
Have you got a little video or two to play on Nick there?
Shall we get into it? Nick, I've got to ask you, Smiley, did I christen you Smiley? Or was it, or were you already Smiley before I started using it all the time?
No, I think that was you. I don't know if it was good or bad, but I don't smile all the time. I can be quite grumpy at times, but there's worse names. I've definitely been called worse names anyway.
Okay. I got.
And by Paddy. Paddy's called me a lot worse than times.
Well, he should be in this studio with him. Likey, the things he comes out with. Okay, so I want to ask you something. Would you say that you were an intelligent jockey?
No. I don't think any jockey's that intelligent, to be honest.
Okay, but away from riding, would you say you were all there?
I got GCSEs, if that's anything to go by.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So we've asked 1 or 2 people, because as I say, there have been other shows like this where you've come on and they've gone on about the 670 winners and the grade 1s and the heroics you performed on the track, which obviously is absolutely true. But no one's interested in that, are they, Pad? No one's interested in that. What they want is for the real Nick Scholfield to stand up. So I've asked one or two people for some stuff. You look pleased about this. Let's start with Tom Scudamore.
Don't believe anything that Tom Scudamore comes out with, anyway.
Well, let's start with Tom Scudamore. Now, I've tried to make this sound even better for Scholfield, so I brought my little portable speaker with me to see him get a bit.
This is going to be so bad.
I think we should really listen to this. There's a bit at the beginning that I might have to play twice because it's so good. Right, here we go.
Well, Scove, I thought there was something quite ironic about the fact that your last ride was called Genius, because you were frankly the opposite of genius. I mean, I've ridden with some stupid people, but you were probably just about the most stupid. I'll never forget when you asked, why did they build Stonehenge so close to the road? You asked how you'd like your pizza in 4 or 8 slices. You said 4 because I couldn't possibly eat 8. And the other classic was how when you went to the Indian restaurant, how would you like your chicken? You said medium rare, or they meant tikka masala, korma. How can you think you can eat a chicken medium rare? However, all those things, everything you've done has been with a smile. You can see the joy across your face, and you were by far the nicest jockey that I ever rode with. So you thoroughly enjoyed being a jockey. Your dad would have been extremely proud of everything that you achieved, and it was always wonderful to see your mum on the race courses getting all the pleasure from watching you ride and compete and following you all the way through your career. You have so much to be proud of, so much that you did. And I say, I thoroughly enjoyed riding with you. I thoroughly enjoyed riding against you. I thoroughly enjoyed your company, even the time when you quietly broke your wrist in my kitchen messing about on your scooter, which I promised never to tell anyone. And it was amazing. You were back riding 3 days later after an operation. Finally let that cat out of the bag, especially as Jerry Hill is retiring too. But anyway, I say best of luck with your future career. I'm sure you're going to make a top-class trainer because your attention to detail and the knowledge of the horse is second to none. And see you on the other side, buddy.
So, Sco, and trust me, there's more to come. Actually, to be honest, there was a lot of nice stuff in there, but the 8-slice, 4-slice pizza thing. Explain.
Probably after about 10 Peronis. That's what he. And when you're jockeying and have at least 2 Peronis, you don't quite know what you're doing. So I'm going to use that one as an excuse. And the Stonehenge one was we're stuck in traffic for about an hour, and I just come out with it because anyone knows when you're stuck there for so long, it's frustrating. But there's no coming back. I did say it. So, but there we are.
Scoo would have been one of your good mates, though, yeah?
Yeah, but halfway through that, I was thinking he was trying to sell me a horse last week, and I was quite interested. But then I was thinking, definitely not buying it now. But he escaped, so maybe we'll still stay friends with him.
Well, stay with us because, as I say, by now other shows would have got on to Irving and how he was just so fast and all that stuff. Boring as. This is entertainment, I think it's fair to say we've experienced already. Now, not everyone had as much to say as Scoo bad. I've got a couple of minutes of Popham. Ian Popham. Fella you know well?
Yeah, we had some good times, yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you well. Yes, Nick Scholfield. Great guy. Really enjoyed our times down in Ditchy together. There's some great laughs with him. He was an absolute master at getting away with complete murder and doing as little as he possibly could. But he always managed to look busy, so he always got away with it. Was mucking out, always used to leave a bit to be desired. He'd literally pull back the stable door and just push the clean shavings in one big sweep all over the dirty stable, and somehow it would look immaculate. So that was one of his trademark tricks he used to do, and managed to get away with it. His mucking out would literally take 5 minutes. I also remember a time Clifford Baker had said to myself and Harry Skelton and Scholfield that we could leave once we'd mucked out. There was like a line of 10 or 12 stables, and he said you could go racing once we'd mucked them all out. And had to be completely swept out so he could power wash them. So anyway, me and Harry started going like flat out, getting these stables done. We didn't have a lot of time. Scholfield says, yeah, I'll just go down to the shop, lads. I'll get us a drink. It's really hot. So yeah, fine. Off he goes. The shop was literally 2 minutes down the road. Anyway, he comes back about an hour later. Me and Harry were on the last stable. We're swept in, covered in dust. Scholfield literally picks up the shovel and starts shoveling in the last wheelbarrow. And then round the corner comes Clifford to check up on us to make sure we're doing it all right. And that was Scholfield. He managed to get away with that yet again. But in all seriousness, he's a great fella. Obviously, a very good rider, had a great career, and I will wish him all the best in his new career as a trainer. He was a very shrewd operator, so I'm sure he'll do very well in his new job.
Right, Nicholas, enough of all that. I've loved watching you riding. Paddy, he's a Grade 1 winning jockey. He's ridden nearly 700. He's got out. He's going to start training now. Will he make it?
I think so. It's a tough gig, training, but Nick has, speaking to him about his experience in the saddle and different tracks, etc. He can use all that experience moving forward. And just one last story about Nick I'll never forget is when he came in on Hunt Ball and the owner into Wincanton into the parade rink. I don't think it's ever been done since, and it may never been done again. That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen on a race course. But
so the owner jumped on the back of the horse, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But Nick's done plenty. He's achieved so much, and you can see in his face this morning. He's smiley, but he's even more smiley. He's walking away, and he's up fresh, and he's got a lot to look forward to.
How would you sum up the career, Nick? How much have you enjoyed it?
Yeah, enjoyed it massively. I'd say I overachieved probably. So, happy with what I've done, and look forward to the future.
Was there one ride that you look back on and you think, you know what, I was as good as anyone that day?
Right.
There's been plenty of races. He won plenty of races he shouldn't have won by using his head. But Nick will be missed as I mentioned earlier. His experience in that weigh room doesn't get filled very easily, and you see a lot of the starts recently. Lads like him are needed at the start to have a voice, so he will be missed.
Nick, did you enjoy riding with Pad?
I actually did. But if you were on a favourite and Paddy was on a second or third favourite in the race, you wouldn't speak to. He could arrive to the races, ignore you. He was brilliant at mind games, Paddy. He tried to get you beat before you get out there, and probably I don't think anyone would. That's gone now. And but Paddy was. I heard him talk about Ruby playing mind games with him one day. But Paddy was the ultimate. He was a good person behind it.
Mm. Yeah. Well, look, nearly 700 winners. It's your missus holding the camera, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Could you just take the camera, Nick, and point it the other way? We want to wish you all the best in the future.
Thanks.
Just be careful when you go and make pizza and when you're driving. The long suffering Mrs. Scholfield, hopefully to be one day. Look, from all of us, I wanted to play those messages to you because in some ways it's easier than just repeating what you've said over the last week. Smiley, I've loved talking to you over the years, and I really hope that you do well as a trainer and that there's a Paddy Brennan Racing Club horse heading to Nick Scholfield in the nearest future.
I'd probably have to pay him.
You'll be all right now. At least you won't be riding it. Right. Sco, good luck with everything going forward.
Very best of luck.
Thanks for having me.
Catch up
Good
soon.
man.
Thank you.
Patrick, thank you very much. An extraordinary Grand National.
Yeah, it was great to watch.
We have managed to get through episode 2020. I was about to say 2022. It's 22. Next week we'll be gearing up for Punchestown, won't we?
From Fairy House. Irish Grand National.
Oh, Irish Grand National, yeah. So next week's the Irish Grand National.
Yeah.
Which will be big, of course, because who sponsors the Irish Grand National? Barry. Who sponsors it?
BoyleSports.
Hey! The 1.01 has come in. This was Unbridled, a Willie Mullins special. Willie, thank you.
Thanks, Willie.